MP5 and P90. So yeah, they are very, very different sort of platforms in general. This is more for sort of going between outdoors and indoors. The P90 is stuck in its sound, stuck in its size. So unfortunately, if you're wanting something that's quite adjustable, I'd go for this. If you're wanting something that's definitely CQB, I'd go with the P90. I mentioned the tri-lug at the front. So again, you are stuck in your ways. There's no thread or anything on here. You are stuck with the tri-lug system. So that's by the by. You can get the attachments that you need, but there's no 40mm, so your standard attachments aren't going to fit. Coming back again, so we have the pin sight at the front. Not adjustable, so that's just stuck as it is, and you do have the aperture sight at the back that is spinnable. Obviously, you do have the clamp system that it is here, so there's a little square here and bits here, allowing you to put seat clamps, claw mounts, anything like that, loads of different bits and bats on there. Lewis, does it have one-to-one dimensions, i.e. will Magpul or Midwest Industries parts fit it? This is the fully licensed UMAREX one, so as far as I'm aware, this is 100% one-to-one with its real steel counterpart. So yes, if you want to get the Midwest rail, what people are meaning by there is what I was just on about. There's a C-clamp that claws onto these 4 little lugs, pulls downwards, sits on there, and has a bar that comes all the way to the front and sits either side of the front iron sights. Again, with bits at the back, again, the only differences you're going to have with fitting parts is making sure that they have the spacings for the airsofty parts of this, which are internal. Externally, it is going to be one-to-one. For example, the buttstock. Personally, these are totally fine. You do have the sliding buttstock and everything like that I'll come onto. But if you wanted to swap that out for something like the wrist section and swap the stock out, just make sure that the pins are not going to intrude with anything, and it is just mounted in a very, very similar way. As far as I'm aware, things like stocks and foregrips and claw mounts and everything like that, with it being one-to-one, will fit this, so you can definitely trick this out in a very, very cool way. So coming back then, we do have the standard cocking handle. As you can see, the bolt is slightly back already, but if I pull it back, it does lock up. As you can see in there, this is the gas blowback version, so I'll come onto the mag shortly, and it does lock up. With MP5s, there is no bolt hold open system apart from physically doing it like this. What we'll have to put forward, and we'll do it in the description and everything like that, when you're reloading an MP5, manually pull the bolt back, drop the mag, stick a new one in it, and then put it forward. If you have a full mag of BBs and then you try and stick it in with the bolt forward, we've not tested it because we don't want to damage anything, but if there's nowhere for that bolt to push down BBs or anything like that, it could cause damage. It is standard practice, even with the real steel counterpart, to make sure it is cocked back, mag out, mag in, and then HK slap it forward. I'm not going to do that because this might be someone's very soon. But as you can see, when we have an empty platform, this is going to come forward and look very similar to this. So it does. The bolt then is stopped by the follower or part of the mag, but you don't have it hold open. Very different to M4 platforms, and it's just something that you will have to learn and practice with if you want to get your hands on one of these. So other parts, we do have the polymer foregrip here. There is a pin at the front that you can just see about there, pushes through from this side. If you drop this off, this is where the sort of first parts of the Gen 2 that we're on about. So this is the Gen 2 variant. The older variants, to change the hop, you had to take all the back end off, take the bolt out, and get an Allen key that was about 8 inches long, go in from the back, adjust it, put it back together, fire a few rounds and see what how you've adjusted it, take it apart, put it back together, take it apart. With this one, you simply push the pin out, take the plastic grip off, and there is a collar just on the back of the barrel. You simply rotate that. You don't even have to take the mag out, you don't have to take it out, so you can fire a few rounds, adjust it, fire a few rounds. Infinitely better than the Gen 1 version, so very, very cool. Reaper, one of our regulars, will she accept the Battle Axe drum mags? Short answer, no, because this is gas blowback, not AEG. So I'll come onto the mag now. So it is quite a heavy, stiff mag. Steel externals, so you can see the feed lips at the front there. This is a 30-round magazine, so you're going to get 30 plus 1 if you want to drop a round in the breech. These are quite heavy, and again, with them being quite long, make sure you have adequate magazine pouches for these. They need to be quite deep, so that when you don't want to be having mags that sit less than a third inside the magazine, because they're going to inside the mag pouch, because they're going to move around and wobble and everything. You want to make sure at least a half, if not 2/3 of the magazine is covered by the mag pouch. It just means you're not going to have any unwarranted wobble or anything. Coming back in, and we lock it in place like that. Controls wise, again, it's an MP5, so there's a little bit of a crossover when it comes to left or right-handed. The bolt itself stuck on the left-hand side. That's just how MP5s have been for a long, long time. When it comes to mag releases, a lot of people don't realise there are actually 2 mag releases on an MP5. There's a standard one that you all know behind the magazine, and there's one that pretty much no one uses, and it's very similar to the M4. No one uses it because they can't reach it, but the lever underneath there simply presses that button, and it's just 2 ways of doing the same thing. When it comes to fire controls, we do have all the different options here. So it is ambidextrous, so you can see me shifting it on both sides. One thing that everyone said when they got this out of the box is that this is a very, very well and tight, very high tolerance, well put together platform. A lot of the times with MP5 fire selectors, when you adjust one, because there's such a long bar, you feel like you're not quite moving the other one. It feels quite awkward and almost like you might snap the other side. This thing's put together so well, as soon as you move in this one, the other one's clicking into place. As you can see, you've got many, many fire options as well. We've got safe, semi, burst, and full auto. So burst on a gas blowback, exceptionally rare. You don't see it very much except in like HK platforms like this. To put it into perspective, like an MWS or something like that, you'd probably have to change out the entire trigger box to aftermarket parts to do it. So to get it on an out-the-box platform is awesome, and the fact that they're keeping it one-to-one with its real steel counterpart is awesome. So we have safe, semi, 3-round burst into full auto, and then it does lock it in place, and then you can whip it all the way back round, and you're good to go. ODST can fit a rail handguard to this version. Yes, because it's one-to-one. Any of the railed handguards that you see on other platforms, like people are on about the Midwest Industries, very, very cool M-lock rails and things like that. Most of the rail systems on MP5s are simply pin fitted. So there's a pin at the front here. As I've said, when you're adjusting the hop, if you take this off, quite easily to swap that out and mount other rail systems. There's many, many out there. You can get key mods, M-lock, Riz, all sorts of stuff. And again, this is just the sort of standard base model when it comes to the MP5. There's loads of different things you can do it. Like we were saying, you can get the claw mounts on the top to put dot sights on it. You can get Riz, M-lock, all sorts of bits at the front, tri-lug front ends. You could change the stock out to the Riz to, there's a 2-inch Riz section type stock. You could get the full stock or anything like that. Again, budget-wise, it's not overly friendly, but if you want it to look like that, it's entirely up to you. And as we've been doing quite high-end platforms recently, anyone looking at the bolster arm stuff online, things like that do sort of hurt the budget, but they are definitely worth it. And even getting my hands on this, as far as gas blowback goes, it is up there with some of the sort of very, very high-end stuff, and the build quality just sort of proves why it does it. Put it through the chrono. It's coming out about 290, 300 FPS. It is very cold in our studio at the moment, so take that with a sort of slight pinch of salt at the moment, because when you get this outside and it starts warming up in summer, that might rise a little bit. Magazine-wise, they do take quite a bit of gas, so make sure you do ensure it is full. Before you start going out. You don't want to rush out with half mags, because you do want to make sure this thing bolt stops and functions as it's meant to. Sling points, standard MP5 situation. We have a very small loop at the front on the left-hand side here. I do believe that you are stuck with that on the left-hand side. It is actually a machined part as part of the iron sights, so that's stuck in place. The same with the bit on the back at the stock here. You might be able to see it there. Again, most people will just single point it onto this loop here and be quite happy with it. It's not too heavy, but I would recommend a sling. It's about 2.5 kilos with a mag, no BBs and gas. But again, you're going to be running extra mags. It's going to add up after a while. So not too heavy. It's not LMG heavy or like that, but as we always say, once things are shouldered, that weight does balance out. There's a massive chunk of the weight back here because it is fully metal. Most of the upper receiver is metal, as we've said before. The lower receiver, the stock, and the handguard are the classic HK polymer parts. Taking the stock out, there's a little lever underneath. It does have a slight spring load, and then it comes out into a full stock system. Once it's out like this, it's about 65 centimeters in length, so verging on almost M4 length anyway, but if you are in a CQB environment, it gives you the option to collapse it down to something that pushing that lever over and then sliding this back in place. This is sub 50 centimeters now, so this is about 49 centimeters in length, so if you are wanting to do a little bit of die hard and just fire it from the hip, like a good old hero of the day, or even some of the bad guys use them as well. But it is that iconic look in the Nakatomi Tower, running around with these. If you want to get yourself a white vest and just run around pretending to be John McClane, this is the platform to do it. It does look absolutely awesome. A couple of bits in keeping with gas blowback. We do get asked this all the time. Most gas blowbacks, they do have little bits of sort of lubrication in them for transport and everything like that. But if you are getting into gas blowback, make sure you check all the information out on our website about how to lube products properly. Make sure you're lubing the right parts and not just covering the whole thing in spray or anything like that. We do our utmost to get the right information out there at all times. So if it is your first gas blowback and you want more information, by all means contact us and we'll do everything that we can to give you the right information and making sure that you can keep this in as a new condition as is physically possible, because these things are exceptionally cool, but they do take a little bit more than just a standard AEG. So if there's any other questions that you want me to cover whilst I'm here, please ask. Anthony, a bit off the subject, but when is the shop opening back up? Well, I don't know. That's the short answer. The long answer is soon. We are in the process of making something very, very cool. It's going to be awesome, but we want to make sure it's right. So once that happens, we do still get people turning up every single day asking if we are open. But once we do open, it will be on every single bit of social media that we have. We will be shouting it from the rooftops, because what we want to show you is going to be absolutely awesome. And we hope you all appreciate it and want to come down and visit as well, because it's going to be very nice. But anything else on the MP5? So again, this is the UMAREX gas blowback version. So Reaper, MP5s are very CQB friendly and easy to wield. Very, very true. The only caveat I would put with this one in particular is it does have that 2.5 sort of kilo hanger to it, so you will need to get used to it compared to other sort of things like the PX9 or the ARP that are sort of polymer platforms. Super lightweight, super easy to swing around. Just make sure you, when you're doing your NSPs and your functions on this thing, you're racking it back, doing the mag changes, putting it in, slapping it forward, rather than what you'd normally do with an AEG, mag out, mag in. There is a sequence to follow with this. This is very much for the immersion and the coolness of it. The 3-round burst is absolutely exemplary. Very much enjoyed sticking this through the chrono and testing it on the range. People are going to have a ton of fun with it, and it is just iconic. I mean, I'm not a massive MP5 fan, but this thing is definitely changing my mind slightly. Does it feature a thread? If so, what size? No, I covered this earlier, and again, this is trying making sure it keeps 1-to-1 with its real steel counterpart. There is no thread on the front end of this. This has what's called the HK tri-lug system, so I'm sure there's accessories out there that fit onto it, or even adapters that click on, twist into place, and be as QD as possible. It's pretty much the OG of the QD attachment, so the devices used to click on, sit in place, and then you could take them off. So fitting tracer units and things like that are probably not a viable option with this one, unless there are specific adapters out there. When it comes to other things like rails, top mounts, stocks and everything like that, there's a plethora of choices out there, and I'm sure some people are going to build some absolutely awesome builds out of this. But if that's everything, this has been the UMAREX HK MP5 Gen.2. When we mean Gen 2 with this one, the hop adjustment has been drastically improved. People that have been thinking about getting these ones and wondering what the difference is. The old system, you had to go in from the back, take all the back end off, big 8-inch long Allen key, adjust it, put it back together, test it, and go again. Now, you just knock the front pin off the handguard, take it off, and there's a little collet at the front. Simply rotate that. You can do it whilst you fire it. So, infinitely better, makes it much more user-friendly, adjusting on the go, really, really cool. But very excited to get these out there and into players' hands. If you do get one and you get some footage or some pictures of it, by all means, drop us a tag on Instagram, and we more than likely will share it. That's everything for today. We'll be back again tomorrow with some other cool features. As always, there's loads of new bits and bats online. Liam Fields, if people have been after one of them for ages, I think half of them have gone already. So if you are wanting one, jump on it now, or you might have to wait a couple of months before they come back. As always, Bolster Arms, we're very, very proud of them and what they've been built into. If you're wanting the sort of pinnacle out-the-box airsoft platform, jump on them. You will not be disappointed. 2 years warranty. Anything goes wrong, just return it and we'll sort it and get it back to you. You're not going to get a better out-the-box performance than one of the Onyx platforms. But that's everything today. We'll be back again at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Until then, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.